Thank you for coming. Here's your book.
Oh, thank you. All right, folks. Oh, that's the one. Fantastic Four, Issue 1, Grail secured. Hi everyone, and welcome to Still Only 35 Cents, your regular dose of vintage comics and collectibles. For this one, join me as I share one of my latest acquisitions and one of the most sought after comic books, Fantastic Four Issue 1, as well as the story behind the creation of the team. But before we get started, if you're new to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button and ringing the notification bell for future videos just like this one. The Fantastic Four debuted in the Fantastic Four Issue 1 back in November 1961, bringing with it a new level of realism to the medium and ushering in the Marvel age of comics. The team and title was created by artist and co-plotter Jack Kirby and editor-co-scripter Stan Lee, the duo that would go on to define the title and Marvel with some classic genre-bending stories. The story goes that Martin Goodman, the Marvel publisher at the time, saw the success of DC's new team title, Justice League of America, and issued a mandate to Stan Lee, the editor at the time, that Marvel needed a new team book too. Stan Lee wasn't exactly thrilled with the state of comics at the time, having been editor-in-chief, art director, the whole deal for 20 years at Marvel in its earlier versions as Timely and Atlas, and was feeling creatively boxed in. Speaking in his 1974 book Origins of Marvel Comics, Stan was determined to carve out a real career for myself in the nowhere world of comic books, deciding that, for just this once, I would do the type of story I myself would enjoy reading, and the characters would be the kind of characters I could personally relate to. They'd be flesh and blood, they'd have their faults and foibles, they'd be fallible and feisty, and, most important of all, inside their colourful costume booties, they'd still have feet of clay. It was a gamble that paid off. Fantastic Four brought in a whole new level of realism to comic books and kicked off the Marvel Universe. Readers loved it. What stood out right from issue 1 was the way the characters interacted. A somewhat dysfunctional yet loving family. Something totally normal today, but for comic books in 1961, it was totally radical and revolutionary. Heroes arguing, holding grudges, no secret identities. Instead, they were celebrities. This legendary comic book introduced the world to the team and how they got their powers after being bombarded by cosmic rays on an ill-fated space mission. Their leader, Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic, a scientific genius who gains the powers to stretch his body into incredible lengths and shapes. Sue Storm, aka the Invisible Girl, and later the Invisible Woman, Reed's girlfriend and later wife, transformed to be able to render herself invisible and project powerful invisible force fields and blasts. Johnny Storm, aka the Human Torch, Sue's younger brother, imbued with the power to generate flames, surround himself with them and fly. And finally, Ben Grimm, aka the Ever-Loving Thing, Reed's best friend, ex-football star and pilot, who is transformed into a rock-like creature possessing tremendous superhuman strength, durability, and endurance due to his stone-like flesh. Stan always claimed the core idea whilst giving Kirby full credit for the look of the characters. Again, in his 1974 book Origin of Marvel Comics, he elaborated on this, stating he developed the basic characters and wrote a story synopsis for Kirby for the first issue. After kicking it around with Martin and Jack for a while, I decided to call our quaint quartet the Fantastic Four. I wrote a detailed first synopsis for Jack to follow, and the rest is history. To back this up, there is known to be a typed synopsis by Stan for the first issue, which outlines the characters, their origins, which is pretty close to the final version. This was later reprinted in Fantastic Four issue 358. This approach to creation would become the basis at Marvel for the now famous in-house creative process known as the Marvel Method. The Marvel Method went on to help creative teams at Marvel produce comics quickly, becoming their standard practice at Marvel within a year. However, this process certainly had potential for future credit disputes, and Fantastic Four issue 1 was no exception. Jack Kirby's account of the team's creation differs significantly to Stan's. For instance, in a 1970 fanzine interview, Rocket's Blast Comic Collector, issue 81, Kirby, whilst acknowledging Lee was involved, took credit for the main ideas, stating, "It was my idea. It was my idea to do it the way it was. My idea to develop it the way it was. I'm not saying Stan had nothing to do with it. Of course he did. We talked things out, but the core genesis, Kirby claimed, was his. As the years progressed, Kirby got even more forthright in stating this position, especially in a 1990 interview with Gary Groth in Comics Journal, issue 134, who, when reiterating Lee's version of events on creating the synopsis first, Jack reportedly shot back with, "I would say that's an outright lie. We know the synopsis exists, but we have no way of knowing whether Lee wrote the synopsis after a discussion with Kirby, with him supplying most of the ideas." For his part, Kirby consistently maintained that he came up with the Fantastic Four concept in the Marvel offices, penciled the story, and Lee just added the words, and he often brought up another connection, pointing to his own work on Challengers of the Unknown, a team that he had co-created for DC Comics back in the 1950s with a number of similarities to the Fantastic Four. In my mind, there is no doubt that Kirby was a huge driving force behind the title, especially as the Fantastic Four were a clear continuation of Kirby's earlier themes and concepts, like Challengers of the Unknown. Regardless, the Marvel method allowed both men to feel like the primary creator, and whilst Kirby provided the engine, Lee was the steering wheel. Perhaps the last word on this is best left to Mark Evanier, who worked as Kirby's assistant in the 1970s. In his book, Kirby, King of Comics, who stated that the general feeling among Lee and Kirby's peers was that Fantastic Four was truly created by both of them, and at the time was a true collaboration. Fantastic Four was created by Stan and Jack. No further division of credit seemed appropriate. Regardless, this remains one of the most important comic books, and I was recently able to obtain my slice of Fantastic Four history when I visited Heritage Auctions office in Dallas. I'm here in Dallas, Texas, at the headquarters of Heritage Auctions. I'm here to pick up a very special book. Let's go inside.
Hi, thank you for coming. Here's your book.
Oh, thank you. All right, folks. Oh, ho, ho, ho. That's the one. Fantastic Four, issue 1, Grail secured. So here it is, my Fantastic Four, issue 1, a beautifully presenting 5.0 with off-white pages. You'll note it's a UK price variant. This one's slightly rarer than the US cents edition because the UK price variants were around about 1 to 3% of the total print run. Of note, these books are well known as being part of that original print run, and some even argue they were printed first, so super hard to find in any grade. Let's flip it over. There's the beautiful back cover. As you can see, excellent condition, super happy with that. So super happy to get this first appearance of the Fantastic Four in my collection. So that's it. I really hope you enjoyed this video about the creation of the Fantastic Four and finally getting to own that piece of history. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this amazing comic book and about Stan and Jack's amazing creation. We've just launched channel memberships here on Still Only 35 Cents. For just $2.99 US a month, you can join the other price variant members to gain access to exclusive member-only videos and live shows. All the proceeds raised from memberships will be going to the Hero Initiative. And with that, thanks as always for watching. Take care of yourselves, see you next issue, and stay fantastic. Don't forget to check out other great videos, as well as follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and X. We also host a weekly live stream, the Merry Monday Mail Call Show, every Monday morning at 7:30 AM Australian Eastern Time. Enough said.